I think so.
Okay. It looks like we are live.
Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're here again. It's Dr. Valerie Akinrambi, psychiatrist and founder at Bright Minds ND, New Jersey, here together with
Dr. Al-Daher, Dr. Zainab Al-Daher, in Northern California, East Bay, San Francisco.
All right.
It's great to be here again with you. Happy Monday, Bola.
Happy Monday. Great to be here. And of course, I'm not going to forget our... Okay, welcome. So today we're going to be talking about Halloween Hangover, because that's kind of what was just concluded for the last weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe we can start by talking about some funny things or something interesting from Halloween this past season.
Yeah. How was it? I guess you guys had bad weather on the East Coast. I'm sorry.
So yeah, we didn't go out trick-or-treating. The kids did the parades in their schools during the day. But I'd say like the funniest part of it was trying to figure out what costume we were gonna have. And that was in play for weeks. My children love Hamilton. And,
Hamilton, wow, you have such sophisticated children. Oh my God.
The older ones, they love Hamilton, the musical, they play it, they know it by heart. So
wow,
they were going for something Hamilton themed. And then and my son Jay loves like Hamilton character himself and all the songs.
Wow.
So anyway, he wanted to be that. And in the morning of, he started being worried. He was freaking out. Like, what if nobody at school knows what I am? What if I don't want to wear this anymore? What if no one knows what I am? I have to explain. So I had to kind of encourage him, like, just tell them who you are. And if you just sing the song, there'll be some people who know.
Yeah.
So, he wanted to take off the coat until I didn't let him until we got to school. I told him if we got to the school door and he still felt that way, I'll let him take it off. He also, I think, was afraid. It's his first kind of aware Halloween.
Yeah. He's
so
5. He's 5, right?
He's 5.
Yeah,
so kind of the first time where he's aware that, people are wearing costumes. And then he's like, what if I'm the only one wearing a costume to school? And so I told him, when we get to the school door, if you change your mind, if you decide you want to wear a costume, if it's just you wearing a costume, then you can take it off. And we had his school uniform underneath. But once he walked up to the school door, he saw that there were other people at least in weird clothing.
Yeah.
So he let himself walk in, and that was interesting. And when he got back, he said, he was surprised at the number of people who knew what Hamilton was, because he was afraid
I'm surprised too that at kindergartners,
it's on Disney. Like some of the songs are popular, and a lot of people watch it on repeat, especially kids with older kids. Because he got into Hamilton because my older kid loves the it's a little over.
And you're in New Jersey, New York. There's a lot of
interest in that. So that's my Halloween story. It's not funny, haha. It was just kind of interesting that he developed this fear the morning off, and
and it's so funny from 3 or 4 to sort of being in this like blissful ignorant, just this state to 5 and then being aware, and like just how it just happens. And then some kids just still they're just going to do what they want, and they could care less. And that's sort of what we had. Like we like to do these family costumes, and we love Halloween, myself and Sam, and like we're like, okay, well, the K-pop was all the rage. I'm sure you saw when you dropped off and that, right? It's just all the rage. So many K-pop Demon Hunter costumes and everything, right? So that's what we're gonna do. And then and then my daughter was like, I don't really like the options for Zoe, the character she wanted. And so then she was like, all right, so then what else do you want? This? So then she just was like, I'm like, well, we're gonna go. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and your dad's gonna do this, and brother. And like we all have this theme. And she goes, okay, well, that's good for you. Like, I love that for you, Mom, and brother and dad. She's like, I'm just going to do Ladybug, this other Netflix show. Like, all right,
Ladybug and Cat Noir.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's Marvelous, whatever, some Ladybug show. She's like, I'm still staying within the Netflix thematic universe, but I'm going a different direction.
Completely. That's so completely different from K-pop.
Like, wow, yeah. And then she was like, kind of like telling me, that's good that you can still like it. You can still like being Rumi, and brother can still like being, baby Saja. That's good. I like it too, but I'm just going to do this other costume. I was like, wow, like that's so
independent.
Yeah, so. And the whole thing of like the songs, because some of them, are your kids into it?
The K-pop, the older one.
Yeah. Is. Okay. Because you know how most of it is like translated in English, and then there's still some of the song lyrics that are in Korean, and I'll watch them belt out the lyrics, including the lyrics that are in Korean. Like they'll sing whatever it is in Korean and just make up. And I'm just laughing and they'll catch me laughing at them, and I'll be like, pretend that I'm not laughing at them. The whole thing is so hilarious. There was so much of that this year.
Is so funny. Music is so universal. Like whatever language it is, if you love the melody in the song, and you can just do the song.
Yeah. No, but it was good. It was a good Halloween for sure. And we were blessed with really good weather. I'm sorry, don't want to rub that in, but it was like beautiful. We were mostly in our t-shirts until it got a little bit nippy toward after sunset. But yeah,
no t-shirts around here.
Yeah, sorry. I know. I grew up in Canada. I had many Halloweens in the 90s where it was snowing and blizzarding, and yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Come out here next year.
Let's see. So
what do we got? Did we get any questions?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Dr. B and Z. I'm a mom of one, a 4-year-old, and I'm finding that as my daughter is at this age, regulating candy after Halloween has been more of a challenge compared to last year and the year before. Is it okay to have Halloween be a free-for-all? How would you approach what to do with candy or chocolate afterwards? The day after Halloween was painful, as they all seemed to want to do, was to ask us for candy every 5 minutes. Oof. Talk about it.
All right. Well, I mean, you guys didn't go out, so did you still have all that candy from what you were supposed to give out?
We had the one that we had bought, but even I realized that things have been so busy this month that we didn't decorate outside, so we didn't have people stop by. So we're still our Halloween candy.
Yeah.
We just put it away, out of sight.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all been there as parents, right? I think that what comes to mind is that quote by Oscar Wilde, like everything in moderation, including moderation. Like every once in a while, it's okay to just go hog wild, or just, put the moderation aside and just go for it, right? Like it's once a year, whatever. I think it's not gonna damage anything, I think that, first of all, I think it's fun. I mean, if you do it and you celebrate this holiday like a lot of other holidays, that's a lot about it's being fun, participating in the fun, and not overthinking it, that like, breaking the rules this time a couple times, even on a more frequent basis. For the majority of the time, I think parenting stuff, if you're getting it right or doing the moderation, close to 70% of the time, you're ahead. And so I think even for you as a parent, just to kind of like have fun and enjoy it. I mean, and then I would say sometimes natural consequences, like our last conversation that we talked about with gentle parenting.
Wait for them to get a stomach ache.
It's going to solve itself, right? Like I think at most schools, I know public schools at least, like they're going to let them snack and indulge during the day, and then they come back and then they're doing more of that during the evening, not just the candy they're holding. So, and if they're not accustomed to doing that, of course, they're not going to feel good. They're probably going to have some kind of stomach ache, or the next day are going to feel this hangover, sugar hangover.
Sugar overload.
And they're going to start to, and you can, even if they're for a younger kid, maybe an older child, like your eldest, like if they're 9, 10, 11, that's going to be obvious to them, but like connecting that dot might be a helpful conversation to be like, yeah, like how come, you have a tummy ache? Well, what did we do different that we didn't do different? That, oh, must have been, that kilogram of candy you just consumed.
Right.
So, but
Natural
then you think of
consequences.
yourself, but you think of yourself like we've been there, like night out in college, right? After a fun night out and then overindulging in one too many slices of pizza or hot dogs or whatever. I mean, and was it fun? Absolutely. It's fun at the time. And it's part of like bonding and social, like it's just part of that. But you do feel it, and then you're like, okay, this is why I mostly do the moderation thing most of the time. But I think, I mean, to answer this caller's question is that I think the day of, like, having the free for all is, I think it's fine. I mean, I know we certainly, maybe not like when they were young, you'd have to regulate more. But once they're like school age or, kinder and above.
It's an age where they can understand consequences and you kind of let things play out. And it could be a good way for them to also learn consequences and to practice self-regulating, because maybe if they had like a not so great outcome with a tummy ache, or not feel great the day after, then it's something to talk about then the next time, to allow them to self-regulate and see what this means.
I wouldn't I wouldn't say like for a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, like that would be, you'd have to be more hands-on. Maybe if you're doing any at all, then you maybe let them pick, or give them a like 3 or 4 and say, okay, you can have one of these, something like that, where there is some choice, but it's not like, okay, you can go hog wild. But so that's what I would say for that. Now, let's see. I think they asked, what do I do after, or what do I now do that I have like this giant pile of candy? What do I do
candy? Yeah. It's still there.
The next day, they're asking every 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So couple things. I mean, I would say there's the one thing of like, okay, we're going to take it, we have it, now we're going to swoop it like out of sight, out of mind. And if you feel like you have to do that, certainly I think there's been years where we've done that. And that does kind of, because if it's around and visible, that's very, it's like, it's too tempting, right? Mm-hmm. But if you do something where you're allowing them to just interact with it, like you dumping out your candy, maybe not the day up, maybe the next day or whatever, because if they're going to be aware and they're going to want to like eat it, the first thing they're going to say is, I want some of my candy. Is just like interact with it, like dump it out. And this is a fun, playful thing. I think I tried this last year and this year, where we're like categorizing it, and that could be a fun, like,
types of candy, or the chocolate, the sweet.
Yeah, what did you get? Let's see, how many chocolates did you get? How many of these candies? And then that starts, and that was actually an accidental fun conversation we ended up having, was, oh wow, like we didn't have these growing up, and look at this flavor of like Kit Kat they came up with or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they start saying, oh, this is the one I like. It's like, okay, well, if you can trade, or we can put a pile or whatever, so that it's not like, oh my God, I got this candy and now I can't think about it or talk about it, and it's like put away and I can't even see it. And so then it becomes even more desirable.
Right.
So interacting with it, and then maybe even saying, I think a reasonable thing to do is to say, okay, you get 2 or 3 a day. And then up until Thanksgiving, or up until Christmas, or up until some point where then, okay, I think at that point it expires, or maybe we've just, it's played its course. Or we can do things like, we're going to give it away, or we're going to do, if we know that so-and-so really likes Kit Kat, like, the neighbors across the street or something, where, because you end up with so much of it that,
it's not reasonable to be able to finish all of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how I would approach it. I think sometimes what ends up happening is that, like, we try to overcorrect, and then we're like, okay, we're not going to have any, like you went hog wild, and then now you're not going to have any. Or then the child is like, well, and you say it and you don't really mean it. And so that the kid is sort of challenging you, like, okay, now I can't have any, or then you're inconsistent. And this goes back to like, behaviorism, where, when you look at like, why is gambling so addictive? It's because you don't know when to expect the positive outcome. And so that's why people keep playing, because, once every 10 times you get the jackpot, or you could be playing for 100 times, but the unexpected nature of it. And so then if you're just like consistent with it, like how you are with screen time or any reward, or that's a good, you say, you know, if you, as long as you do your chores or something like that, you can even do it like a little token economy for the next 2 months, you know, and say, as long as you make your bed, you do your chores, you help me, then you get it once you come home from school, or you do your homework without, you know, giving me a hard time, then you get, you know, that, or whatever the case may be. You could do that, but they know what to expect, and they know that that's what they're getting. Then they calm down, and then they're not constantly in this bargaining and this obsessing phase where they're asking you for it every 5 minutes, because you've set the tone, you've set the expectation, you've told them this is what this is what you need to do to get this candy, and it's not a negotiation.
So it can be a good way then for both of you for the kids to then be able to expect that they'll get it if they do this, and it takes away the constant nagging and asking and hoping to get more and more. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Let's spend the next few minutes kind of talking about attitudes towards food. I think you mentioned earlier, you know, about how to look at it, you know, relating with food and restriction, and how this can play into that kind of thought, or territory, you know, disordered eating, if we're labeling some food as good and some as bad, where it then can develop or lead towards this restriction kind of thought.
I think there is that. I think some of that happens, and this is something that comes up and came up like this last week with like a parent who had a history of eating disorders, and then they're sort of like being careful and trying to be thoughtful so that they don't kind of misstep like with their own kids, or how do I approach these things, you know, when it comes to like now me being a parent, and you know, that in that context. I think like one thing, you know, is like getting away from this idea of like labeling food as like this is good food or desired food and this is bad food. And because then that gets into like attitudes around food, and we think of like, okay, like food is fuel, right? Like it's calories, it's energy, we need it to live. But it's not just that. Like food is also really social. I mean, food is something across all cultures, is ways that we celebrate, we gather, good times and in bad. There's a food component in many of like the ways that we connect with each other. Absolutely. And so like, you know, having that, just knowing that like it is fuel, but it's not just fuel. You know, going back to like the balanced approach. I think that like, you know, like we try to do our best. I think it can be more challenging depending on where you are developmentally with the child, where, you know, you have a baby, they're going to be open to eating anything once they are able to like, you know, experience textures in the first year. But we usually see around 18 months, 2 years of age, this kind of like resistance to like all of a sudden they seem like they don't want, and it goes along developmentally with like their autonomy, you know, and again, like potty training and being in charge of their own bodies. So not only are they learning to like, you know, get in touch with like, you know, their body, toilet training, that, but they're learning that like no is an option, and they're saying no, I don't want, like I used to love broccoli, or I used to love avocado, but now all of a sudden I'm saying no, I'm resisting. No to it. And so, and then it's sort of the picky eating stages happen, and then they kind of like, you know, you get into like the older age, you know, school age, and then they kind of are more open. But I would say in the context of this conversation with like good food or bad food, like we say we want our kids to eat healthy food and vegetables and protein and things like that, but we also want them to enjoy desserts and more, you know, more sweets, desserts, exactly, candy, things like that. Like it's just it's fun, it's joyous, and so I would say to get away from that idea of like, okay, you can have your like if you have your broccoli and fish or whatever, like we've cooked for me, then as a reward you can have your dessert, because then what that does is it puts certain foods on a pedestal, and then it puts this food as like, this is yucky, this is not. Whereas we want to have the approach of like, this food is like healthy and balanced for you to eat. And like, it takes literally like 7 times, the research shows, like it takes you 7 times to try something for your palate to actually like potentially enjoy it. You know, just because a kid doesn't like broccoli at first or whatever, fish or, you know, lasagna at first doesn't mean they never will. But it's that idea of like, want to give you an opportunity to try this, because then you'll like it, because then you'll be more likely. Then when you go to the birthday party and this is what they're serving, then you're able to enjoy it with your friends. Because if you're only saying, I can only eat these things, it does restrict them when they go out in the world. Or they become a picky adult eater and they're trying to socialize out in the world. And so, but that idea of like, okay, candy is like, or chocolate or desserts or whatever, are like, you know, they're bad, or like we can't have them, because then the more you restrict, the more desired, the more like kind of attention you're giving it. And so I would say, you know, having like this like balanced approach where, let's say we're like, okay, we're all going to have what the parent has prepared, and even if we're just having a couple bites of it, that's what we're going to have. And then have the like ice cream scoop or the dessert or whatever not contingent on that, you know, and not like kind of like a bribe. Yeah, like, and then away from like this like putting certain foods on a pedestal, or like and just watching how you yourself are around food and what you're saying, because they pick up on everything.
I feel like we're going to have to get into this a little more, because now we're talking broadly about, you know, attitudes towards food and how that can enter disordered eating territory, and what we teach children about food. And I think that's a very hot topic. I have you know, my younger one definitely is there in terms of like being very leaning towards picky and trying to encourage him to try different foods. I feel like we should definitely maybe talk a little more broadly about this. But as regards to Halloween, you know, we don't, I think the point you're making is we don't want to then say you can only have your candy if you eat your broccoli, because then it sets up that dynamic that we don't want to encourage.
Yeah, right. Because then it makes it seem like, oh, I got to get through this thing, which is not as good and yummy and whatever, to get to this thing, which like, you know, seems like, you know, like that's the messaging that like get through this like difficult thing, or get through this like yucky thing, but that's good for you, to then have this like indulgent, yummy, delicious food. And then it's sort of like, you know, sets that up. So I would say to maybe even, and using it for a token economy is fine for, you're like, okay, well, so it's this nice, you know, reward for cleaning up or doing this or doing that, but not, you don't want to like downgrade the healthy food and then put the dessert food up here, because then they're going to kind of, because then, I mean, you see it when you go to birthday parties. I think it's, I mean, I have, where like you could see the kids that are consuming foods or desserts like on a more regular basis, where they'll have one and it's not a big deal. They'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll have one cupcake, or have one piece of cake, or the kids that don't at all, and then they are just, you know, diving
into it.
Because and then you imagine that once they're kind of going out in the world, where then, because they never get it, then they're kind of overdoing it, you know,
approaching it from a very scarcity, starvation.
Yeah. And then we have to deal with them after that, you know. They get home and they're bouncing off the walls.
All right. Okay. All right. So, important points about Halloween candy. I think we talk, you know, I hope that whoever sent in that question is able to hear this now or at some point to understand a way to approach it. And I think my takeaway here is we can use it for token economy for the days after, but definitely not put certain foods on the pedestal or make them having access to it contingent on eating the good foods, and finding, again, balance, moderation, even in moderation, meaning maybe some days you let kids, you know, have fun with it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So on that note, thank you, Dr. Al-Tahar, for your wisdom and, and knowledge, and for sharing it. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. For everyone listening to us again, it's Dr. Akinrambi, Bright Minds MD, adult psychiatrist in New Jersey, and
Dr. Al-Tahar. You can find me at MindPath.
All right.
Yeah.
And
we're not sponsored. We're not sponsored by Kit Kat or Sour Patch Kids. Although that would be nice.
It would be nice, right? So we hope everyone has a wonderful week. But if you're looking for psychiatrists on the East or West Coast, we're it. And we just talk about here on this, two psychiatrists and a microphone. We talk about things that are relevant to us from a mental health perspective, but also as parents ourselves, and questions that come in either from our practices or from other people who listen to us.
Yeah.
So on that note, we'll be signing off and hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.